bitch, I eat a lot of fish. I want some money, I want some money, I want some money.
Recording? Damn. That's recording. Try to like stay like around there, because that's where it's recording at.
Pull in case the rest alone, and I let my dog get out. You ain't talking money. If you want some beef, you can't get shot. For a show, 100.
Today, we gonna be rapping.
100 shot. I'm gonna spend my own. I got me a money. Got
to ruin your childhood in 10 minutes by hood nature. We gonna see how it is. Like I said, today we just gonna be seeing how it is. Like I said, I don't know how you gonna ruin it. I know there's some things out there, theories, but I don't know how you gonna ruin it completely. I see Nemo. I'm seeing Nemo, so I'm guessing it's gonna be something sick about that. But we gonna see how it is. Hood nature.
First days first. You know, like and subscribe. Okay.
Both. How many seconds?
Matter of fact, 10 seconds.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Y'all count the last 3.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll get right into it.
Ruining your childhood for 10 minutes. Hopefully no ads. No ads.
Hopefully. He should not.
Okay. Disney, yeah, I gotta explain this. So the reason Nemo's an only child and can't celebrate Mother's Day outside of a graveyard is because a barracuda came and nearly clapped his entire bloodline. One problem though, barracuda don't eat clownfish, but you know who does? According to extensive research, Google, clownfish are known cannibals that will spawn kill and eat their own young. Oh, but that's not all. In clownfish society, the females are bigger, stronger, and more dominant than the guys. So if Marlin's wife went on a murking spree, I'm talking full cannibal Lecter, he would have been too weak to stop her. So what if his wife Casey Anthony, man, I use that joke a lot. What if his wife squad wiped his family and then he was so traumatized that he blamed an imaginary barracuda for the mass genocide of his children? And what if as a coping mechanism he pretended that he was able to save one, which he named Nemo, a name that literally means nobody? It actually makes sense. Makes sense because if his wife was actually killed in front of him, according to clownfish rules, he would turn into a female to replace her. That could explain his severe trust issues after the love of his life erased his entire family. Disney, you have 24 hours to respond, or I'm just going to assume the worst. Dark facts about Finding Nemo. Nemo would have suffered a brutal death once he got flushed. As a saltwater fish, his body would be used to pulling in water. But in a sewer plant with fresh water, that water would just get forced into his body. Basically, he'd get internally waterboarded until he died a painful, water-intoxicated death. Finding Nemo convinced millions of dumb kids that they could flush their fish back into the ocean. What they really did was commit unintentional homicide because their fish would get eviscerated by sewer treatment machines. If you're one of those kids, you're a murderer. When Bruce cries about never meeting his father, there's truth in that. Some female sharks will give it up to so many guys that one litter of shark pups can have 5 dads. Even if his father didn't dip like a future pro athlete, Bruce would have no way of knowing who his real dad was because his mother was for the trenches. If you rewatch Finding Nemo, you'll realize that Nigel the Pelican last saw Nemo seemingly dead in the fish bag. This scene is the last time we see him, so there's a good chance he went the rest of his life thinking Nemo got killed in front of him, and he probably blames himself for it. Since all clownfish are born male, Marlin would became the dominant female once his wife died, and since there were no other clownfish around, he would have done something to Nemo that no amount of fish therapy would ever heal. Dark Finding Nemo facts that you will unfollow me for. Nemo was more likely to get cannibalized by his own father than eaten by a barracuda. Barracuda don't eat clownfish or their eggs, but you know who does? Nemo's biggest op wouldn't be a cuda, it'd be his own flesh and blood. Since a whale's respiratory and digestive tracts aren't connected like a human's, it wouldn't have been able to shoot them out his blowhole. Instead, they would have been forced into one of its 4 stomachs where they would have been dissolved alive by the acid. But they wouldn't make it that far because the moment they decided to just keep swimming to the bottom of the ocean would be the moment we saw credits. Anglerfish live more than 6,000 feet underwater. At more than a mile underwater, they'd be under more pressure than a firstborn with immigrant parents. In fact, that much pressure would crush them and force their organs out of their mouth. Not a Disney way to die. Dory would have had a caudal spine that could severely injure people or even Marlin if she forgot to be careful. I mean, not like she forgets a whole lot anyway. Dory could fade you because those spines could cause deep wounds that result in swelling, discoloration, and infections. On top of that, she'd be toxic enough to poison people, although I've heard people say the same thing about a voice actor. Okay, fair enough, I should probably explain this. As a clownfish, Nemo would be a saltwater fish, and water moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. Stay with me, I swear to Tom Brady this is going to make sense. So a fish surrounded by saltwater means there's a high concentration of water inside the fish. So high to low, water would leave the fish. So to avoid losing water and joining his mother in the afterlife, Nemo would constantly take water in while his kidneys pump the salt out. Now if you put Nemo in fresh water, the opposite happens. In freshwater, there would now be a higher concentration of water outside of Nemo's body, so high to low, water would get pushed into Nemo's cells. But since Nemo spent his entire life in the ocean, he'd be used to swallowing water the way an alcoholic stepfather swallows Budweiser. So Nemo would become overhydrated, his cells would fill with water, and he would be dead before the sequel. So no, fish don't really drown, but they can die of water intoxication, and it's not a good way to get series finale. Since I ruined this movie for a lot of people, here's facts Finding Nemo got right. Marlin would probably survive the jellyfish because as a clownfish he's covered in mucus that makes him resistant to sea anemones and homicidal smucker's fish. Also, the scene where he tells Nemo to brush against the anemone before school is accurate. They brush to build immunity and get the sea anemone used to their presence. If they didn't do this, the sea anemone would sting them every time they entered, which they'd survive, but it'd be annoying. The East Australian current is real, and every summer sea turtles use it to travel from the Great Barrier Reef to Sydney. Females will use it to return to the same beach year after year to lay eggs. Also, Crush was not capping about his age. There are documented cases of sea turtles living to a century and a half, and one allegedly survived 400 trips around the sun. When Bruce relapses like a junkie for nose powder, his eyes turn black like a demon guppy. Shark eyes actually turn white when they're about to put someone on the news because they roll their eyes back to protect themselves. In the beginning, Coral defends her eggs against a barracuda while Marlin begs her to come inside. In clownfish society, females are tougher and more dominant, so it makes sense that she'd be the one more likely to defend them. Her mistake was that not only are barracuda one of the fastest fish, they respond to motion, so her darting towards the eggs kept her out of the sequel. Lion King were scientifically accurate, it would just be case after case. First of all, darker manes are more desirable in lion society, so Scar should have been king to begin with. Next, when a new male lion becomes leader, the first thing he does is murder all the children from his previous successor, meaning Scar would have personally aborted Simba and Nala. Which brings me to my next point. Mufasa was the alpha lion, meaning any cubs we saw were fathered by him, especially since we never see any other adult male lions. So yeah, Simba and Nala were half-siblings, not distant twice-removed cousins, not stuck in the drier step-siblings. I'm talking full-on West Virginia family reunion blood siblings. This scene would have been a case and a half. But before he Hakuna'd Hurtadas, Nala would have killed Simba right here. Remember, Nala was starving and was fighting over what was a limited resource. Not this kind of starving, but for food. And when lions are hungry enough, they'll reach a state of psychosis where they'll do literally anything for food, even cannibalizing cubs. That and the fact that Simba had zero fighting experience means Nala would have folded him like a backyard lawn chair. He also would have lost his Scar because again, no fighting experience. Even if Simba won, Simba was gone for at least 3 years. Meaning Simba would murder any child Scar had in this time. Y'all want to know what happened to Mufasa's body. Technically the answer's in the movie, so watch this. Birds like the vulture and marabou stork would have eaten his dead body. But there's a catch. Vultures have really weak beaks and feet, so they would have had to wait for an animal to tear him apart to make it easier for them. The question is, who got to his body first? These are the primary suspects. Hyenas and lions kill each other out of competition, not for food. Lions don't like the taste of hyena meat and probably vice versa, so safe to say they probably didn't eat Mufasa. African wild dogs are such efficient hunters that they don't have to resort to scavenging, so they're out. Jackals are notorious scavengers, but again, they wouldn't have found the taste of lion meat appealing, so they wouldn't have done it either. Here's where I'm gonna mess you up. Worms, maggots, and corpse beetles would have gotten to his body first. Likely the same bugs that Simba ate would have been the ones that defiled his father's carcass. They would have created openings that would have made it easier for these guys to finish the job. And since guys like the Lammergeier specialize in eating bones, after a few days there'd be nothing left. It wasn't Scar or the hyenas, it was actually vultures and bugs. Send this to a friend to ruin their childhood. I was actually hoping I get a comment like that because I really want to talk about it. So we all can agree that Lion King was based off the Shakespeare play Hamlet. I do not remember a letter of it, but I do know there's a scene where he holds a skull. In Hamlet, the skull belonged to Yor, King Hamlet's jester. So if Scar holding a skull is a reference to this, we can assume that it was one of his jesters that he probably got tired of and killed. Makes sense because that skull is too small to be a lion's, but it's actually perfect baboon size. So if we put the pieces together, maybe Scar had a baboon as a jester, got tired of his nonsense, canceled him, and now keeps his sun-bleached skull as an already keepsake. That would explain why he now forces Zazu to entertain him, because the old entertainment guy is now dead. And again, since Lion King is based off Hamlet, this actually makes more sense than Scar keeping the skull of his murdered brother. Or maybe I'm just overanalyzing a kid's movie from 1994 because I honestly have nothing better to do. But I like the first one, so I'm going with that. First images in nature you're gonna wish you never saw. A moose shedding its velvet. A jaguar on some Jinjutsu Tsukiyomi. The larvae of the blue bottlefly. Telescope fish. Man's tripped acid, stumbled into the 9th dimension and saw some shit that he can never take back. A moth covered in mind-controlling fungus that basically turned him into a zombie. The devil's tooth. Basically an Australian mushroom marinated with Lucifer's love nectar. Seaweed that does not look like
no money in the world.
The skeleton of a pufferfish.
$5
If you have to see this, make sure your friends do too.
$5 billion.
If I have to see, so do you.
Eat that for $5 billion.
If I can cook it
man's fingers.
and put it in
Anemone known as
that's cheap. I can't do it then.
This type
Bro,
of inflicts stings
I gotta be able to
until
cook it.
months
At least
to
can I
go
put it
wild
with
gets where you
something?
can find it.
$5 billion.
Can I put it with rice?
I'm staying out of the ocean.
Nah, he said, hey, no,
A snake
we
eel
don't
that
give
can grow
you
to 3.5 feet long.
$5 billion. You gotta kill it. You just gotta eat it, B.
What do you call a crunch wrap with double the seasoned
Straight
beef?
up.
A crunchy
For
taco.
$5 billion,
Drink for just $5.
for $5 billion,
That'd be
he
grand.
ain't say he ain't say I gotta eat the whole thing. I might bite the arm off, kid.
It had blood coming out of it. Oh yeah, you finna be eating it just like eating one of them little gushers. Hell no. And son, you can't spit it out either. You gotta swallow it.
You gotta eat the, well, at least one piece.
That part probably won't be in there.
This image doesn't seem cursed until you realize just how close to death this person was. And in case you don't see it, there it is. A harpy eagle, and y'all already know how I feel about this. Yeah, this isn't any better. A pacu fish. Fun fact, one actually bit a man's testicles off, so the more you know. A town in Brisbane was stalked by a giant kangaroo. People didn't take it seriously until this picture surfaced. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I am not gonna say it. I am not gonna. If you're not a kangaroo and want to be built like one, make sure you hit that link.
If a kangaroo pulls up,
not really.
and he stands straight up at you, what you doing?
For.
Like, he look like
that
you ready to
beluga
box.
whales look like
He
they
got
have
the
lost
energy
human
from
souls trapped in their bodies and haven't been able to look at them the same. Those aren't legs, they're actually rolls of
gotta-
fat, but knowing that doesn't make this picture
My
any
eggs are
better.
right there.
An owl about
My
to
eggs
catch
are
a
right there.
mean body. And if you doubt
So
that an
it's-
owl can take on a
we
cat,
not doing
they
one.
will
He
euthanize
gonna be
your
like,
pet.
We not
whoa.
doing
Speaking of
one,
owls,
man.
nature gave them
Nah,
feathers
you
for ours, so
crazy.
not
I'm
theirs.
throwing a
This
brick
picture's
at it.
bad
I ain't
enough
even
until you
gonna
realize
try.
those are its own
Damn,
contents,
we
mouth.
not
Looking at those
doing
lions, they have
one.
zero intention of mercying them. They're gonna watch it suffer. Here's a reminder that this prehistoric feathery demon is as tall as some people. They have a longer wingspan than LeBron, and I will see this in my nightmares tonight. This is what a wet sloth looks like. You're welcome. This is a La Mancha goat. As a LeBron fan, I love goats, but if this earless demon ever pulls up to my front door, I'm calling the National Guard. This is why you never do face swap with a chicken. And here you have a crow mourning his dead friend. Crows are highly intelligent and can form strong emotional bonds with members of their... I was wrong. Some images that you're probably going to unfollow me for. If you can't find a snake in this picture, don't worry. Neither could this bird. Oh, and speaking of birds, this is what a baby pigeon looks like. I've never seen this in my life, and with any luck, I'll never have to see it again.
Oh,
A wraparound tree spider.
Crazy.
A hairless baboon.
I got right
This-
before you.
this
I
is
can't even look at it.
Okay, major trigger warning right here. A Suriname toad giving birth. Just a lion, right? Look a little closer. There's a hyena right there, and the lion has no idea. Hyenas have been known to hide inside elephant carcasses. I wonder what shoes he has in his casket. The inside of a kangaroo pouch. No fur, no carpet, just a fleshy purse with a joey inside. The mouth of an emerald boa.
Someone